Hey guys, Magnus here, and if you're joining me from Ted2001, welcome. If you're not joining me from Ted2001, you need to go to Ted2001's channel. I'll leave a link for the video in the description. As he has done part 1 of this video, this is part 2, where we're going to be going through the sort of top 3. He went through the bottom 3 of this list, and basically this list is looking at, of course, the top 6 expansion updates for TSTO. And so what we mean by this is updates that expanded our town further, or gave us something to build that would be a part of our town. So if you watched Ted's video, if you haven't, please definitely go watch it right now, because I'm going to spoil what the other 3 were. Of course, he listed, or he should have listed anyway, he should have listed Heights as number 6, Monorail's number 5, and Krusty Land was number 4. So I'm going to be going through the top 3. So first of all, number 3 is the zoo update. This is obviously otherwise known as the Moe's Ark update. So this allowed us to, of course, create our own zoo in our Springfield with different exhibits. It allowed us to create our exhibits. It allowed us to, you know, kind of just structure the zoo around our town. It gave us loads of characters as well, such as Larry Kidkill, Brittany Brockman, gave us Katenge, Alison Taylor, and of course Sarah Wiggum, as well as much more. And some of the buildings I think were not as memorable. I think the best part of this update was the exhibits, which were of course decorations. So we of course had the Big Cat Country, we had the Baboon County, we had the Warmongers, and other things such as this. And of course we had different other little buildings and decorations that we could build around the zoo, and of course create it. I just think this was a really interesting way for them to do the zoo, and just instead of adding it as just one big building, it allows us to, of course, build our own zoo and actually structure it how we want it. I think this was really, really cool. It was a great idea, and I think the update was great, and I can't wait for times to come when we look back at our zoo and we look at it with eyes of joy. And of course, this also doesn't restrict anything. If they add anything later on, which, you know, if you want to put it into the zoo, it's going to be there for you guys to obviously put into the zoo. If there's something that you think would fit quite well in the zoo, you can obviously put it in there. Now, it wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong. I think possibly adding a bunch with the exhibits, possibly they could have maybe had individual exhibits for individual animals. That could have made it a little bit better, but I guess this was just a way to condense it and not have it be drawn out with just tons and tons of decorations. But overall, I think this expansion was really cool, and I really enjoyed building the zoo. So we're on to number 2. So number 2 is, of course, Itchy and Scratchy Land. So the reason that we kind of put this above Krusty Land is mainly Itchy and Scratchy Land is a permanent part of our town now. While Krusty Land was awesome and the memories will always stay in my head of Krusty Land, Itchy and Scratchy Land is a permanent solution to the problem that was Krusty Land. And don't get me wrong, it is upsetting that Krusty Land is gone, but I think this was a good step for them to do. At least in my opinion, I think this was a really good step, because they were never going to do anything with Krusty Land. So just completely eliminating it and giving us a throwing in all the Krusty Land items into Springfield, I just think works better, and it means that you don't have to go through 2 loading screens to obviously get to one another. Like, you can just, everything is in your town. And of course, this is kind of my biggest issue with this update, although it is number 2, is the building limit, because of course if you've exceeded the building limit, you couldn't place half this stuff. So, and don't get me wrong, I think that is a really negative for this update. However, I think this update was just overall so awesome. Of course, so apart from obviously adding all the Krusty Land stuff into Springfield, this update also brought in a lot of new stuff as well. It of course had characters such as Itchy, Scratchy, Corporal Punishment, Tina Ballerina. It had a few other forgettable ones, but they were the main sort of ones that were really good. It of course gave us tons of new attractions. So it gave us the Nurse's Station, it gave us TGI McScratchy's, the Roger Myers Story, Soaring Over Springfield, gave us the Itchy 70 Disco, the cartoon set, like things such as this, Itchy's Minefield as well. Just some really cool buildings and loads of cool decorations as well, which I'm not going to bother listing, but you guys know, you guys probably experienced it, so you know what I'm talking about. Different rides and stuff as well that you can design yourself, like the Zoominator and all that. But this update was just really awesome. I really liked what they did with it. I think that it's similar. It took a lot from Krusty Land, but also did a lot different as well. Like, I like how you can create your own theme park. You can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. I haven't got it as big as some people, but some people have it huge, that I've seen on Reddit and stuff. And it gives you the free will to do what you want with it. And I think this was the main reason it gets number 2 is it was just a great solution for the Krusty Land problem. And I think it's a great addition. And also it allows us to now add any new rides that we get in later updates. Of course, we can now add to this Krusty Land, just like we can do with the zoo as well. So yeah, overall, I think it's a great update. I thought it was a great expansion, and it's gonna be one of my favorite things in my. It's definitely one of the favorite things in my Springfield at the minute, and I can't wait to add stuff to it and to design it and redecorate it and stuff. And I just think it was just an awesome expansion, and I was really happy with it. And yes, it was great. Definitely the best update anyway of 2018 so far. So yeah. And then we come to number 1. So can we have that drum roll? I'm gonna bring back the old drum roll. So of course, the number 1 update that we both agreed on is, of course, the Squidport update, or if you weren't, the Boardwalk expansion update. So of course, this was a really awesome update. So basically, before this update came, Springfield, you could see the ocean, but you couldn't buy the ocean. You could always see the ocean and the beach, but you could never do anything with it. It was just there. It was just kind of there, and you couldn't buy it. It's similar to the mountains. Like, you just saw the mountains. You didn't actually get to go past them with Springfield Heights. So before that, we just had, you could just see the sea. And then eventually the Squidport update came out, and they allowed you to, with cash, buy the bits of ocean and the beach. And eventually you could build your Squidport entrance, and you would create boardwalk platforms, and you can build your huge boardwalk. Now, the reason that I think this is definitely number 1 is because this has stood the testament of time, if you will. I think that the boardwalk has been around for ages now, and it was such a revolutionary update in the sense that it brought an entire new aspect. Now, the heights, you could say, is also technically stood the testament of time, but my problem with the heights is I'm not that interested in it. It's nothing that unique, you know. It's just land past the mountains. That's all it is. And I just think that the Heights update overall was just such a colossal failure. I just didn't like it. I think that they could have improved it so much. I didn't like all the different aspects of it. But the boardwalk was just simple. It was just, you buy with cash. You build the boardwalk sections, and then you place them down, then you buy the buildings, and you go through all the tasks to get the different buildings. And that was it. And then there was a few premium buildings thrown in there, like Planet Hype. But then it had a bunch of other buildings as well, and you can place pretty much every decoration on it now. Of course, but apart from like trees and stuff that wouldn't really make sense. But they added a bunch of decorations for it as well, different plants, the little posts and all that. You know, boats. They added a bunch of boats. They added a few characters. Now, I think the only issue with this update is it didn't really add many characters. The only characters it really had was the sea captain, and of course a bunch of boardwalk performers, but it's kind of a hard update to really add characters for, so I forgive it for that. But I think in terms of expansion updates, it is definitely the best. It's still there, and I still keep updating mine and changing mine around. They've now made it, later on, they made it so you can place certain buildings that you originally couldn't place on the boardwalk, so you can place different buildings that really shouldn't go on the boardwalk, but you can place them in the boardwalk if you want. Stuff like that. I think it's just really cool because this is you designing Springfield on your own, so you can do what you like. And I just like how it's still there to this day. You can still add it, you can still change it, you can still add new things to it, and you can keep building it how you like. And it really has been, it will always be there. And I just think out of all the expansion updates, this one has stood so long, and it's been so cool, and it's something I always quite like to look at. I always check out people's boardwalks because I think that's the most, it is really interesting. There's different ways you can design it and stuff, and I just think it's really good. My only issue with the boardwalk is the limit on boardwalk sections. That's my biggest issue with it. I wish they would up it. I know they upped it once before, but I wish they'd upped it again just so I can make it bigger, especially now we've got more sea. So overall, that's my, not mine, well, my part of the video, and of course the collab done as a whole. So if you guys, for some weird reason, watched my video before you watched his, definitely go check his 6 and talk about and listen to him talk about his opinions on the different things and why he put those other 3 at the bottom. Of course, this isn't really. I mean, this is. I agree with most of the stuff on this list, really. I mean, we only changed. I think. Out of my original list, we only changed like one thing around, but overall, I think this list is pretty solid, and I would agree with it for the most part. I think that, yeah, I just think it's a solid opinion. So you guys tell me your thoughts on what you think the best expansion updates. Go through these 6 that we went through. I don't know. I don't think there's any other expansion updates we missed that you could technically count as expansion updates. I think the monorail, I guess, was a little bit of a meh because it's a mechanic of the game. It's not really an expansion, but I think it counts. I think it counted. So, and plus it just is easier doing 6 than 5. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please tell me your thoughts, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.